Look, I will not keep you terribly long. There's a lot of very knowledgeable people talking at this event, and I'm a humble builder, and my perspective, as it always tends to be, is kind of from my experience, which is building and architecture and bid. So what I'll do is I'll take you through, I suppose, an initial overview of Colin. We are a platinum sponsor for the Bim Gathering in 2021. We're absolutely delighted to be involved. It's been a very challenging and strange year for everybody for 2 years almost now. And we're just delighted to be involved, considering what's going on in the world at the present time, and hopefully we're nearly out of it. So I'll get going there, I'll introduce myself, and then I'll give you a bit of background on the company, and then I'll get into the meat of the presentation itself, which is really talking about Colin's own BIM journey. Okay. Now, so I'm head of the bid department in Collen Construction. I started with Colin as a contracts manager, and I moved into bid just based on some previous experience and interest in the area. And it's a very interesting and dynamic job, and I love it. And it really allows you to use a lot of different skill sets. So that's what I'm doing now for Colin. We're very busy in bid and have been throughout this strange COVID period. The bid process is very intertwined with technological advancement and trying to be edgier than the other guys and more current. Than we do utilize BIM tools a lot for things like logistical planning and 4D planning. So it's something that kind of suits my background. So I started life as an architectural technologist, then moved into project management later in my career and jumped to the construction side of the fence. Later on, just as a kind of a sort of career boost, I did energy management in Carlow IT, and most recently I completed an MSc in construction informatics from TU Dublin in conjunction with CitA as well. I think I might have been the last graduate on that one, so thanks for that, Suzanne and Alan. Over 20 years I've been working in the industry, have experience in design, property development, specialist subcontracting, general contracting and procurement. And I've always maintained an interest in emerging technology within the industry just in order to improve particularly safety, but efficiency as well, and environmental management as well. So, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about, who we are, what we do, and sort of experience, and then we'll get into our actual proper presentation, which is Colin's BIM journey later. So, who are Colin? We're not terribly high profile. We are quite large. We're not the largest in the country, but we're quite large. We're in the top 10. We're a tier 1 contractor with a 210-year-old history, and the company is still owned by the Collen family. I think the 8th generation of Colin is now after joining, which is Neil Collin's son, Jack, who's working as a project manager in the business. What do we do? We're a main contractor, we're a design and build contractor, and we're a joint venture partner. Our teams absolutely are our most valuable resource. Our ethos will be to provide a high quality service and forge long lasting relationships, and we have many, many repeat clients as a result of that. In the data world, in the commercial world, and in the pharmaceutical world. Our main mission is to deliver projects safely and on time, on budget, and to the highest quality standards. It sounds like a cliche, but it's something that we really believe in. And our clients, we really do continually strive to exceed, their expectations and always do a better job. And the fact that we have so many repeat customers is probably a testament to that. We work currently in Ireland in 2 locations. Dublin and Galway. Galway offices are a recent addition. We have people all over the country at the moment with COVID. A lot of people have moved home, and it's working very well for us. So it's probably going to continue. So we have the ability to work nationally with ease. We're present in Germany for about 10 years now, primarily in Frankfurt, with a couple of large data center clients, and we're active in Sweden as well for about 5 years now, with a couple of very, very large data center clients, and we're looking at moving into Finland in the near future as well. So we're all very excited about that. More news will be given in the future. One of the key things to the Colin success is the senior management team. We have a small group of key people. You're looking at most of them there. But even on an individual basis and a projectized basis, strong leadership is the key, and we have, in recent times as the industry has increased in complexity, we have developed specializations, legal people, chief information officer, estimating head, myself, head of bidding. We have all these specialist areas that probably wouldn't have been there 10 years ago, but it suits the model of our business now, and it allows us to kind of keep a consistent approach across the business whilst maintaining technical expertise in each department. We're at about 350 people at the moment, and we're looking at probably maybe 400 by the end of next year, the way things are going, workload wise. So, you know, our company has grown dramatically. Even in the 5 years I've been here, it's dramatic. Turnover wise, you can see there since 2015, we've grown year on year. This year we're going to hit about 485 million. I won't get into the meats, but we're a very safe company to do business with. We're very, very stable. As regards what we do, you know, these are a selection of our kind of current jobs that are going on in the Dublin area primarily. Mostly, you know, in value, most of that will be in data centers, but there's obviously a lot of commercial offices and retail units there as well, including a medical center there. And I suppose, you know, just going back further, we have a long history of, you know, large commercial offices, retail, and even a car showroom there. We also do fit out when we get the opportunity to do it. It's often as a follow-on to jobs that we completed, but once in a while we get to do it as a standalone job. It's a very competitive market, but it's a market that we're very interested in continuing to pursue. High tech and pharmaceuticals. So probably anyone that knows Colin knows that we do a lot of data center work. We have a couple of very, very large clients, 3 to 4 at the moment actually. They're all multinationals. And one of the big things is that we cannot mention their names. It's all top secret. That's just how it works in the data world. We do work for, you know, a lot of the biggest guys out there. And obviously we do the associated infrastructure work as well. So we do have a specialization in substations and electrical infrastructure. And then we have a lot of repeat business with certain pharmaceutical partners, as you can see here, Takeda, Abbott, Amgen, and Ipsen. That area of the business has gone quiet in recent times, but we're hoping to ramp up again in the new year, all going well. Industrial wise, yeah, we do a lot of industrial projects. Again, it's gone quiet in the past while, but it is an area that we have expertise in, and, you know, allows us to jump into the data world as well, because an awful lot of the early data centers were essentially just large warehouses. So it worked very well for us in that regards. We do resident student accommodation when we can, expecting a massive growth in this area in the coming years, especially with some recent announcements by the government. Healthcare, yeah, look, we have a specialist team that work in healthcare, nursing homes specifically, but we do injury clinics for people like VHI and Aphidia, and diagnostic clinics as well. So look, it's an area that we work in and we enjoy working in. We have a core team of conservation specialists, both management and tradesmen and women, that work around the Dublin area. We don't currently have a major conservation job on, but we do have the team working for the local authorities in Dublin on maintenance of sort of library buildings and other listed buildings like that. So that's an expertise that we keep on hand, and when we do land a larger job that has a larger conservation element in it, we do actually utilize that team regularly. One of our major wins in the past few years has been the move towards a design and build model in Ireland. From our perspective, it allows us to, you know, really wash out the risk on the job and control scope creep. And for us, it's really been, you know, a game changer as regards risk management. It does bring its own unique set of risks, but to be fair, Irish design teams are of a very high caliber, and we know most of them, so we choose our partners carefully when we can, and when we don't have the choice of who the partner is, to be fair, they're normally pretty high end. So we have a mixture here of sort of projects that are within our group, and then projects that are, you know, for outside clients as well. But one of the big areas that allowed us to move into this was that from the early days, one of our major data center clients preferred this route of procurement, where they would select a design team, get planning, and then we would deliver both the construction and the design stages of the job for them. So that's been a major win for us, and it's something that we do very, very well, and we're continuing to do in Dublin. And we are seeing the majority of jobs that are coming out now going down this route now, which is interesting. Awards, yeah, look, I won't go through them all individually, but we've had in recent years, we've had the Construction Manager of the Year. We've had an award for a BIM initiative by our BIM manager, Ray Coote, as regards inducting people on a virtual site model. And we've had a couple of ROSPA Silver Awards as well, and excellent in health and safety and well-being. So we do invest an awful lot in our business, in the well-being of our employees and the safety of our buildings. And you have to, or people will die. You know, that's the nature of our business. But we do have a particularly high standard. I've worked for a few different companies over the years, and I have to say Colin will exceed them all by a long, long way. We really do work very hard on, maintaining, systems and accreditations for our business. It allows us to sell ourselves better nationally and internationally. These are all recognized internationally. We have the usual sort of ISO 9001, 14001. More recently, we've gotten 45001, which is a new version of the previous safety standard. And more recently, again, we've got the energy management standard as well, which is 50001. And our most recent win, which we were very happy about, was the 27001 information security management system, which is really focused on data security. And it's very important to our core clients in the data world in particular, but it's becoming more and more important everywhere else as well now. I suppose other things that we maintain would be the typical safety cert, and there's a few awards. We tend to get regular awards for safety, just because we maintain very high standards, and we're very active in that area. So it's something that we take great pride in. And it's always the same mantra from the top down: safety first, quality always. All right. Health and safety initiatives. Look, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but we do maintain a health and safety structure on all our sites. It's outlined on the screen there. I've shared the presentation afterwards with CitA, so you can see this if you wish. But this is a very effective system, and it is an award-winning system. Quality-wise, yeah, we've grown a huge quality team in recent years. Some of which has been driven by the increasingly complex data requirements in the industry. Things like VCAR, O&M manuals, and I suppose the BIM process itself all require a greater level of administration and quality control, and that's something that's allowed us to grow that team. We're always looking for people. If anybody's any interest, please get in touch with me. Environmental, yeah, look, it's huge. We now have a full-time senior environmental officer and a number of environmental managers on sites, and in line with our accreditation, it's important that we maintain this at all times. We can't be ruining the world that we're building on, so we have to be careful with that. Look, it's a growing area in our business, and again, we're always looking for people, so please feel free to get in touch. So Colin's BIM journey is the main topic that I want to talk about here today. I'm very conscious that I'm flying through this, so if anybody wants me to stop and explain that, and please ask me to. But we'll get into a little bit more detail here. So what we have here in front of us is a sort of a 5-year map of our journey, and where it started and who's been doing what. So it's really looking at the departmental uptake of BIM is how I've structured it, because it's based on my own personal experience. So when I joined Colin in 2016, we had a BIM department. It was one person. It was Mr. Ray Coote, and he was doing everything. But increasingly, as the clients required, jobs to have a BIM mandate, and as that kind of whole piece developed, we started to grow our team. I think the first new members were in Sweden, and then we've since taken on several people in Ireland, and we're up at about 10 now. In line with that, in bid management, which is my area of the business, it's really about technical bidding. It's about writing the program for the bid stage. It's about the methodology and identifying how we're going to build stuff and de-risking the job. Along with the kind of BIM department, the bid department's growth and development, the competition in the industry has become fierce as regards how you present yourself, how you sell yourself, and how you give clients comfort that you've really looked at their job in detail. So because of that, we've really utilized BIM tools since the start, since my start in the business, which is really focused around 4D simulation and logistical planning, and then sort of market and stuff as well. So that's an area we'll get into more in a little while. The estimating team, perhaps unsurprisingly to those who know the process, we're a little bit slower to take up the BIM process in our business anyway. Now they're in a very short time they've completely mastered it, but for a long time we'd have been using the Excel-based spreadsheets, but now we're getting into things that can take off directly from models and check quants and stuff like that. So that's an area that we've really moved on very, very quickly. But again, it's the industry is requiring it, because bids are coming out now with a model attached to them, and if you want to check quantities now, you got to use a model rather than CAD drawings. So that's where we are now. Marketing wise, I think everybody will be aware of this, that when you have a BIM model and you can render it, it can look fantastic. it can be very, very useful to the marketing team, albeit in a social media post, or perhaps even you know, in a presentation for a client, or even to give a client a look at what their building is going to look like, you know, from a photorealistic point of view. So we now have an in-house team of people that do that for us, and they work very closely with both the BIM department and the bid management department. In fact, we more or less see ourselves in bid as part of the same process as marketing, because we are essentially all selling. Planning, again, you know, we didn't really have a full-time planning resource until late 2017. Before that, it was very much done by the project managers and the contracts managers. So we now have a team of planners. It's grown massively in the past few years, and part of that process has been 4D planning and beyond, in some cases 5D. And also we're looking at things like, you know, I suppose resource loaded programs and that kind of stuff. But increasingly, particularly in my area of the business, we are using the plan to obviously we can't do a 4D simulation without having a plan. So the plan is a key part of that. And we're now designing our plans to kind of work with that process, and it's become very, very efficient for us as a business. And it's a very, very strong selling tool for us, you know. Similarly in operations, I think we first started seeing a BIM mandate on projects in late 2016 on a regular basis. There was always the occasional one before that. And it took about a year for them to hit the ground, those jobs to hit the ground, and we've had quite a few of them in recent years. The majority of jobs now would have a BIM mandate of some description or other. There's definitely some key challenges in that that, you know, are probably diluting, you know, the potential benefit of BIM, and I will talk about that later. But the operations team, you know, similar to, you know, estimating and planning, have really jumped up to the mark on that one. And you know, we've got guys in site that, you know, have no college training, that are all tradespeople that are now using Navisworks on a regular basis, and P6, and, you know, Asta Power projects, you know, things like that, you know, to kind of interrogate models and in some cases even do their own simulations. So it is I think the whole process of BIM has really improved us as a business. You know, it's pretty unfair to say it's just BIM. It's really digital transformation, but I mean, BIM has been a massive factor, a massive part of that. So I think that's probably really where we started the whole process from of digital transformation. Excuse me. So our BIM journey, our BIM department, it was formed in 2016 formally when we hired Mr. Ray Coote. Initially Ray was the only person there, but he was a senior appointment, and he also has very strong leadership skills. I suppose the need for the BIM team was driven by market conditions and increasing client BIM requirements. We don't work a lot in the public sector. We probably will in the future, but for now we don't, and we didn't back then. So we were probably a little bit late to the party in comparison to some of our competitors. But you know, when our data clients in particular and our other high-tech clients and pharmaceutical clients required this, and we started to kind of get our head around what it meant, it really was a no-brainer for us. You know, there was Ray really by himself for quite a while, but he's now grown a team around him and really upped our game as a BIM entity in Ireland. I suppose I've already mentioned that it's been driven by client requirements, and particularly data center and pharmaceutical clients. The department has grown year on year from 1 to 10 team members. They're spread out across Frankfurt, Greece at the moment, Sweden, and Dublin. And it's really it's amazing how easily these people have adapted to the new market conditions, where a lot of people are working from home. It hasn't impacted really their job on a daily basis at all. They're all very tech savvy people and good communicators, and because of that, it's not really impacted our I suppose our productivity in that department. It's been great. From my own perspective, the BIM department is a key support in bid and proposal writing and the production of marketing material. I'll talk more about that in a sec. They're also a key department in supporting pre-construction and operational project planning, which again would fall under my remit. That's really where we talk about where we're going to put the cabins, where we're going to put the cranes, where we're going to access the site from. That's all part of the process, and we use models and simulations to really communicate to the lay people on projects, you know, what we're planning on doing. And it's a very strong and effective planning tool and communication tool. The BIM department is key in operational and logistical planning. So if we have a difficult job, spatially restrained, we will have several BIM interventions throughout the job as we change site accommodation locations, that kind of stuff. So, you know, the guys are really engaged in that, and it's something that we all enjoy. It's kind of the fun side of it, I think, you know, where we can actually move cabins around and move diggers around and stuff like that. So very satisfying part of it. The Bim department itself is key in project preliminary planning and risk assessment. Again, this is very much an area that I'm involved in, along with the estimators and the directors. We're using, you know, BIM models really to allow us to look at physical risks, you know, and, you know, I suppose stakeholder risks, and, you know, just literally spatial risks as well in jobs. And it's allowing us to understand jobs in a way I think that we probably weren't able to 10 years ago. And it really is improving our risk profiling on projects. Looking at one this morning in Frankfurt, it's been an absolute game changer for us. We really have to spot stuff now that you wouldn't be able to spot even on a site visit. So it's been absolutely invaluable in that regard. I suppose most recently, because of the need for high quality animations, we have now appointed a full-time virtual design construction animator. Aiken, who's joined the team a little while back, who's an architect originally. You know, it's just that the quality of what we're able to put out and the time scale in which we're able to put it out now is just fantastic. It really is surprising to me. And I'll give you a look at a video at the end of this presentation to kind of give you a feel of what we're doing at the present time. I mean, what have we been doing? You know, I mean, really with BIM, you know, we're using it, you know, in its infancy. We're using it really to kind of demonstrate how we're going to build a job, you know, in advance of winning the job, and you know, understanding that these things can change is a key part of that. I suppose that if you look at, you know, the animation that we're looking at the moment on the screen here, you know, I'm not sure if you're seeing that clearly. It might be jumpy on you, but you're looking at, you know, how are we going to do this, how are we going to do that, and you know, perhaps when you get the site you might change that, but the ability to do that at this kind of level, you know, it just wasn't there before we really engaged in this. I mean, the animation you're looking at here is probably 3 years old, and it's probably only one of the very few I could share with you because it's purely speculative. It's not for a client, so it's just something that we do to kind of sell our BIM wares, if you like. So that's one of the problems I have, is that we do have a lot of confidentiality clauses. So I can't show you an awful lot of information, but this is a very typical data center model that we would use. And it is something that's a very strong communicator and really sells our point very well as regards our capability and our general technical capability. And one of the big things we're using it for on jobs, in particular on an ongoing basis, is very obviously clash detection and design development resolution, and then obviously collaboration on site with facilities teams as well. Another element that we got involved with a pharmaceutical client pretty early on in our journey was, sorry, this is actually an electrical room, apologies. It was on a pharmaceutical site. Was actually how we're going to, you know, modularize the job, pre-assemble modules, how we want to do that, and that's really what won this particular project for us. So there we have a containerized switch room floating around the space, and basically they were just dropped into a space, as you see there. And I think that you know, we all talked about it for a long time, but until we actually saw how that would work, we didn't understand, really, the client didn't understand the potential benefits. So, you know, it's a very powerful selling point when you're trying to win a bid and there's only a few pounds in it between you and the next guy. So I would have to say to you that this is, you know, one of the game changers from a bid and marketing perspective that's really made a big difference to our business. Just staying on the Bim department for a little while longer, I suppose some of the key achievements that happened would be that, you know, we fully integrated BIM into our common data environment. You know, we're using a common data environment that we've been using for some years. It's probably getting a little bit dated now, but we work with the developers in the package to really allow ourselves to have a viewable model without having to have any, you know, major plugins or major software on your laptop, and it's worked really well for us. Invariably, everybody's kind of going back to Navisworks and stuff like that, but at the moment it's there for people that don't have the software or perhaps the expertise, and it's worked very well. Coupled with that would be the data flows and the management of the data flows, and that's all been, you know, very much led by our BIM leader, which is Ray Coote. You know, moving beyond that, then, you know, recently in a very large aviation project we're involved in Dublin, we actually utilized augmented reality to overlay models in the real world. I was surprised at how well it worked, and it was possible to do sort of walking clash detection. I'm not saying it's certainly not perfect, but it is there, and the technology is there. It ended up not being a requirement, but we did do it, and it was a very big part of our sales pitch at the time, and we won the job, and we're still on site there 4 years later on very good contract terms. So we're very happy about that, because we got into the client's head and gave them comfort that we know what we're doing. I suppose in addition to that, which is happening everywhere, is the integration of field data into models. So primarily point cloud scans, really, and then just checking the model, via clash detection and any design changes as well. And then one initiative that we did that was very, very exciting, we won an innovation award for, was our digital cube, which is basically a collaboration space on one of our large data sites. And this has been moved around to other sites now since, where pretty much anybody on the technical team or the construction team can come into this room and collaborate with another person. Obviously with COVID that was a challenge, but before COVID, they can collaborate, they can mark up a model, they can send comments to the design team with a touchscreen. So that's been massively successful in communicating excuse me, clashes in particular, and also logistical constraints on this very, very challenging project and very, very large project. Again, spearheaded by Ray and his team, and probably one of our senior contract managers, Willie Latnan. I suppose that kind of covers the kind of the planning and collaboration too, because we've been using that particular room to kind of do a kind of a pre-planning session before we do our wider last planner sessions with the teams, and it's been working quite well. So I think it's fair to say that the ongoing challenges of BIM, are being met at the moment. But I think one of the things I really wanted to mention here was that we are finding a bit of a fall away at the moment in the industry with BIM, which is disappointing for us and for any other professional or builder or design professional out there. In that, if a client is building a building speculatively, we're seeing that they don't necessarily want a BIM deliverable on the job. So we now have a couple of jobs in site where they were designed and coordinated in a model, and effectively the client won't pay for or doesn't want to continue that coordination process. And unfortunately, we don't have the BIM resource in the job, and that good work it's still being used for design development, but it's not really being used on site in a way that it could fully be used. I think it seems to be just around sort of speculative commercial developments, or developments that have highly specific end user requirements. And it's a hotel at the moment and an office that we're working on, and it is kind of we're seeing it more and more in jobs. When the end user decides they don't want to pay the extra. It's a significant cost. It's hundreds of thousands of euros to get this service done and to get a kind of a finished lock model. That it is falling away, and we feel it's really hurting the process. So whenever we can, we push it, and we always price it and hope that it doesn't get negotiated out before the final stage happens. But it is an ongoing concern, Suppose in regards to leadership and awards, we have our BIM leader, who is Ray Coote, and he's won a safety award and a construction safety partnership advisory committee award as well, for some work he did. I think it was based on his thesis that he completed in TU Dublin, and he since developed it for use in the real world, where essentially you can walk around the site virtually, model of a project, and be inducted. Now, obviously, you can't beat being on a site and seeing physically there, but in a COVID world, this is very, very relevant. And although the initial work was done pre-COVID, it became very, very relevant for us when we were going in to do exceptional interventions on sites during the COVID crisis. So absolutely amazing work. And I don't know if anybody here would have seen the work, but it's fantastic. It's great, I suppose moving on to my own department then, where we come from and where are we now? We started off using 2D images, 2D drawings to produce proposals and packs. And that's kind of pretty much gone now. Any bid we're working on now, even if we don't have a model, we produce one ourselves. We're finding a lot of clients are reluctant to give models out now for information security and stuff, reasons and stuff like that. So we do have a couple of guys available to do that at any given time. I suppose what's driving the need for this sort of bid quality increases client and market requirements. Our competitors are doing it. They were very competitive. They were very good at it. It was making them stand out in the crowd. We started doing it and we started upping our game, and it's kind of it's like an arms race in a way, but it's ongoing and it's happening, and it's a part of the bidding and tendering world. Also, 4D planning, the sales pitch, how you want to build this job, how you want to build it on time, how you want to build it safely. That's a normal part of our bidding process. Now that happens pretty much in every project now. The cost is just absorbed into our overheads. What we do, that's how we do it. I would find it very hard at this point in time now to really properly assess the risk on a job without having a 4D plan in place to use. On top of that, then the modeling and logistics and review of spatial constraints is a massively important risk management tool. Our BIM models are now used for estimating processes and prelims costing. Many of our subbies now are asking for models to do their takeoffs and do their proposals. We're using BIM models and simulations for communication of proposals. So to get buy-in from a director or buy-in from a contracts manager, we will give them a pitch before the bid goes out to the client to let them know what we're thinking, and they'll make their changes, and that's what we do. So, again, the communication has increased dramatically. End user requirements drive the BIM uptake on live projects. I suppose that's what I mentioned previously, that there is a bit of a fall away at the moment on the commercial jobs in Dublin. The clients don't really want to pay for that, which is unfortunate. But we are where we are. I suppose one thing I would say to you is that we are seeing that designers have pretty much moved to Revit for design coordination. 2D drawings are much less prevalent, and in fact, on some jobs we're not being given any 2D drawings other than PDFs. So that's the way the industry's going now. I would also say to you that as a rule, Colin, don't bid without BIM. It's just not something that we do. Can I just ask guys, can you all see my screen okay?
Yeah, that's fine. We can see it. Are there many more slides?
Nearly finished now. Nearly finished.
That's fine. We can see your screen perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, grand. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Estimating then. I suppose how the estimating team have changed. They weren't involved in BIM in 2016, and by 2018 they were heavily involved in it. They're using it for takeoffs and quantity checks, and we do have concerns around the use of models for specification references due to quality control issues. We've gone away from using BuildSoft, and we have migrated to Qubit, which is more integrated with the BIM processes and the BIM models. Our estimators are utilizing models and simulations for costing and project preliminaries, and most projects will have a decent level of BIM resources allocated to them as a matter of course by our own team, client-driven stuff, pretty much a client-driven requirement in many cases. Marketing, look, very similar to the estimate or the bid team. They are heavily engaged in using imagery, models, simulations, rendered images, combining different data sources, videos, drone footage, time lapses with models. And we use it to produce marketing material, social media posts, 4D simulations, and then we do have full-time graphical specialists in-house to produce these multimedia presentations. Planning department, again, working very closely with operations, estimating and bid departments. Pretty much without fail now, the first thing we do in a bid is a program, and that's incorporated or turned into a 4D simulation. And we use several different platforms which are listed there. And we do have occasional issues with interoperability with models, so there's always ways around that, and that's so we do things like that, like exporting information, text and stuff like that, to allow us to incorporate it into various different platforms depending on client requirements. Operations then, look, the majority of our projects at the moment on site have some level of BIM deliverable on them. Our data center and airport projects have very, very high levels between 300 LOD and 500, and include 4D and 5D requirements, although I will admit the 5D requirement, when actually was implemented, was decided to be abandoned because the client didn't like having such information open to the wider team. So that's something that didn't pan out, but was interesting to be involved in. The majority of our design and build contracts are designed and coordinated using BIM models. So even if it's not a BIM mandated job, the designers are still using BIM models to coordinate their design. Our site teams are using models for workshops, planning and design development. And we have successfully utilized our BIM Cube initiative for collaboration and model review, as I mentioned earlier. The majority of our engineering and site management are competent in viewing and the interrogation of federated models. Just across the board now, it's become the norm in our business. IT team, our IT team has grown to meet the requirements of the business's needs during its digital transformation in the past 5 years, not least of which has been driven by BIM. And one of the key things we've achieved in that time is that we've appointed a chief information officer to oversee and rationalize our digital transformation and get some control on it. And we've recently achieved ISO 27001, which is very, very important to our clients and customers. It's very, very important to the business as a whole. As a summary, what have we learned? BIM implementation in our business has driven innovation. It's accelerated our digital transformation. It has improved our competitiveness. It has improved our risk management processes. It's allowed us to retain existing clients and procure new ones. And it's allowed us to grow technically as a business. We're much smarter than we used to be because of the BIM process. So that's it. As a business, there's our ethos, ethic, and our commitments. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thanks, Stephen. That was a fantastic presentation. Very thorough, went into so many different aspects of the business. Alan, did you have any questions?
Yeah. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Alan.
Super presentation. I'm a little bit depressed at the end of it when I hear about the I suppose the response of BIM from clients, but I suppose it's probably a pragmatic approach. They need the building, they're selling it on, whatever. But fascinating insight. Thanks to Reese as well and Revisto. And we really, really do appreciate your sponsorship. I mean, you know, as a company, Colin, probably one of the longest established companies in the country, really do appreciate your support. And looking forward to seeing you as well, or not seeing you in person, but virtually at the gathering. But just to assure you and your colleagues in Colin and to Tommy, who we know well, you know, your support is, you know, so appreciated. And we really are hoping to meet all you guys later in the year or in 22. We're hoping that some of our fringe or smaller events that we'll maybe have in-person events. But even today I heard, you know, very large events taking place in the UK around off-site construction. I think you're going to see more of these events taking place in person, you know, as we approach 22. So just to wish you and your family all the best, everyone, all the people who are attending today. And so many questions for you, Stephen, but I think you said it all. I mean, you're just dealing with, you know, the challenging world of construction. And you have to it's all about winning jobs, isn't it? And everything is dependent on your next job.
Yeah.
And you know, we depend so much on you guys as contractors and surveyors and engineers to support CitA, because we kind of have this vision of a better sector and a more productive sector. And, you know, by sponsoring us, you believe in us, and that we do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, we're delighted to be involved, Alan. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thanks so much. So we'll be talking to you again over the next week or so before we get ready for the 21st to the 23rd. Yeah. Thanks a million, Stephen.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.